Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this floating front card. It's got a nice flip up signing panel inside, but the nice bit is, well, other than the fact it folds flat to go in a standard envelope, is that when you open it, you've got a whole array of lovely designer series paper on the inside. So that's how it looks like from above. This is how it would look like on your shelf or your mantelpiece, wherever the lucky recipients display the handcraft masterpieces that you send them. So like I say, this is it. It's actually quite quick and easy. It's just a few score lines, and without further delay I will get started and I'll show you. I'm going to use the lovely cloud cover. This is one of the 25-27 in colors. So I'll start by scoring it with you. So this piece is 11 by 4 1/4. It's just a standard half a sheet, and we will score it at 2. So just line it up at the paper trimmer at 2 inches, and we'll score it at 4. Make sure we're scoring and not cutting. We'll put the cutting blade all the way out the way, and then we'll also score it at 4 1/2. Now you could do 6 1/2, 7 and 9, but it's just as easy to turn it over and do it again. So 2 inches and 4 inches and 4 1/2. And then what we have to do is some trimming, some cutting. So I'm going to be standing up for that, so I'll just be a little bit louder because I'm closer to my camera. So we line it up at the 1 inch mark on the paper trimmer, and we're going to cut. I don't know if you can see those score lines actually. You can just vaguely. I mean, you can use the measurer on the paper trimmer too, but we are going to cut from the 4 inch score line down to the 7 inch score line. So we'll pop the paper cutter in at that score and go down to 7, and then we'll flip it over, line it up at the 1 inch mark again, and we'll go from 4 down to 7. So that's all the cutting. That's all the being loud close to the camera action. And then what we need to do is we just need to cut up those score lines as far as the cut line, because we just want to get rid of that little piece. And I just find it's easy to do it quickly with my scissors. Again, you could do it with the paper trimmer if you wanted to, but just set that a little bit more. There we go. So these are the 2 pieces that we don't need. And then what we're going to do is we're going to fold the middle section in and back on itself, so it looks like that. And then what we need to do is we need to sort of fold that and hold it, and then when we fold in this 2 inch piece, we want to make sure that it will lie flat when that is closed on it, because that's how it fits in the envelope. And then we can sort of secure the crease with the bone folder. Don't score it and crease it really well first, because it might be too short and you'll have a gap, or it might be too long and you'll have a bevel. So again, we will fold it over, make sure this can fold down, and then score it. So now we have the body of the card. Whoops. And then what we have are 1, 2, 3 areas where we need some designer series paper. And I am actually using the lovely Peaceful Gardens, and even though it's quite a busy pattern, so you can't really tell, I still, if I've got pieces that are next to each other, I like them to have a sense of continuity. So I cut mine out. They're 1 7/8 by 4 1/8, and I just cut mine out and then post-it noted them on the back, so they're kind of attached and secured. So I know that the pattern flows through those 2 pieces on each side. Like I say, it's not really that important when the pattern is busy. It might matter more if your pattern was bigger or stripes or more noticeable, but I always feel if I do it by by habit, by default. When it does matter, I haven't had to give it too much thought. So you can see that's the right piece. I'm obviously just going to move it over and put it on where its layer fits. And then I'll take post-it note off the back of these two and pop those on quickly. So like I say, the nice thing is that the pattern runs through from the outside to the inside. And again, just checking. No, actually, no, it's the right one. Good job I checked. Anyway, so now we can pop that on. And the other two are going to be on the front. And they are a little bit further away, but if you had a big flower that you could see went across, why not just, you know, do your best shot? Like I say, if you do it as a force of habit, it defaults into the right place then. So let me just pop the adhesive on these two, and then we can get them on. So that one can go on there. And then let me just make sure that this is, oops, this is indeed, do you know, I can't believe I've done that again. Anyway, good grief. Yeah, let's just do it by default and train our brain. But at least I'm checking. It's not that you have to have it right. It's that you check that it's right, because then that does help and makes a difference. So now we've got all the designer series paper in place. And now we're going to make the lovely little middle section, which is 2 3/4 by 7, and it's scored at 3.5. So I'm just going to put the little basic white in, which is 2 5/8 by 3 3/8. It's just a 1/8 of an inch smaller. Wouldn't be much left if it was an inch smaller, would there? So that's the inside done, and now we're going to decorate the outside. So in the sample that I'd made, I had a piece left over and I added it to the bottom. Well, I don't have a big enough piece, to be honest, for this one, but I thought what I would do, I did have some little strips, so that is actually what I'm going to use. Oh, I forgot to cut them to size. Oh my gosh. Right, 2 3/8 I said, didn't I? Or 2 5/8, 2 3/8. You know what, I'm just gonna, oops, I'm just gonna cut it ish, and then 3 3/8, no, 2 5/8. I can't believe I'm making more of a decision on 2 little slithers of paper than I did on the whole rest of it. But anyway, so we'll pop it down on the silicone mat and we'll pop these little strips on, and I'm quite sure they're going to be too long somewhere and need a trim. So if we do a little bit of white and then a little, trying to decide on the pattern again, spending more time on 2 1/4-inch slithers than the whole rest of the card. But there we go. So then we can just trim the excesses off, which didn't come as a surprise. We were pretty sure that they were going to exist, weren't we? And then I'm going to bring in the Misty Moonlight ink pad, and the stamp I'm going to be using came out of Peace on Earth, which is this part of the suite that goes with the designer series paper. As a demonstrator, I did a Creativity Now back in June, and this was the set that we got to use, you know, sort of ahead of time, and I've been in love with it ever since. It is just so lovely. So there is the greeting stamped, and now all we need to do is attach that to the front of the card, and then attach the greeting panel to the big card. And what we need, how we're going to do that is we're going to put adhesive just between these two score lines, because this is the smallest area. We know when the flap panel goes on, it's going to be bigger than that, so there won't be any adhesive astray. And then we just need to line it up. So I'm going to make it equal between the sides and sort of eyeball it to be equal between the top and the bottom, and give it a good press. Oops. And there we have it, and it's lying flat because we checked that first. And then the bling I'm going to use is actually called Charming Shimmer Faceted Gems, because they've got these lovely shiny shimmery blue ones which just go lovely. Right, let me bring in the one I made earlier. Let me bring in the one I already did and add some bling to that. And actually on that one I added more because it was a little bit lighter. I think they would just get lost in this one, so I'm only going to add the 3. But you know, it's that aesthetic thing, isn't it, with an odd number. So there you have it. There is the sample I had made. Here is the one we've just made together. Whoops. And if they would behave themselves, they do fit in a stand. They do. Stop touching. They do fit in a standard envelope, so they're great for mailing, and they're not too fat, so they'll just go with a regular stamp. So that's pretty awesome. If you like what you've seen, please consider subscribing. Let me know what you think about the card. If you've got any questions, pop those in the box below and I will always get back to you. And in the meantime, thanks so much for watching.